Welcome to a very spooky Halloween episode of Furry Found Footage, in which I, the Dark Sorceress Orlina, will discuss a horror anthology series which takes advantage of its simplistic art style to be simultaneously ghastly, existential, and ultimately uplifting. That's right, it's Gregory Horror Show. In this video, I'd like to discuss the characters, the overall theme of each season, and leave a little room for asides and opinions about who's hot or not. I will discuss spoilers for this show, so I recommend you watch it first. It's available for free in its entirety on this very website, and I've even provided a link in the description. Consider that your Halloween treat, because I won't be providing any further spoiler warnings. Without further shivering on the frightful doorstep of this episode, let's knock and prepare to say trick or treat, Gregory Horror Show is a CGI animated television series initially broadcast in 1999. It was created by Naomi Iwata, a Japanese illustrator, and episodes are roughly 3 minutes long. They're the television equivalent of candy corn. Series writing credits went to Naomi Iwata, with translations by Paul Baldwin and Bess Lovejoy. Now, Paul Baldwin is known for his work translating many episodes of various Gundam series. And as a bonus, he worked as a marketing supporter on my favorite game series, Thief. Also a great autumn play, if you taffers don't mind me saying. I'm not sure what the process is like when a series has a translator and a writer, because translating also includes a lot of interpretation and writing itself. However, Bess Lovejoy went on to enjoy a successful career as a columnist, writing tons of deliciously dark articles, and as the author of Rest in Pieces, The Curious Fates of Famous Corpses, which I trust has juicy details about exploding monarchs. According to her LinkedIn, Miss Lovejoy also consulted on casting and creative development and acted as assistant director for Gregory Volume 1. I do love a Renaissance woman. The first 2 seasons follow a different protagonist as they navigate the horrible corridors of a hotel called Gregory House and interact with its unspeakable denizens. They feature a trailblazing first-person perspective, with the viewer occupying the body of the one experiencing what unfolds. This ramps up the horror while also getting us close to the characters. Gregory blends comedy and horror expertly. Given its simplistic art style and the fact that it can be consumed in its entirety in an evening, you're excused for thinking it's for children. Unlike some of Naomi Iwata's other series, Gregory Horror Show is decidedly not for children. In the Philippines, it has the same rating as the likes of The Shining and Old Boy. In Australia, it sits comfortably beside Black Mirror. And in Poland, it's rated next to American Horror Story. Incredibly, Gregory understands horror's rich history of anthologies and pulls off spectacular stories in about an hour per season. The DNA of horror anthologies such as Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt are in Gregory, as it draws both from Western pulp horror standards and Japanese horror sensibilities. It was released at a time when J-horror was only just beginning to take the world by storm, with the English adaptation of The Ring still 3 years away. I'd like to talk about some of the characters first, so strap in. Gregory Horror Show has a lot of characters, each with their own charm. Each one is based around a single gag element and generally sticks to that element in each appearance. Some are more amusing than others, but the most unsettling moments in the series come from their moral blindness, blasé reactions to horrific injuries, and disastrous fate for which they seem designed. Here are a few important ones. Gregory is the creepy little Igor who runs Gregory House, a hotel for monsters and lost souls. Throughout the series, it's laid out that he is more than he appears, yet he often ends up on the losing side of interactions and is something of a fall guy whenever mischief occurs. He has surprising depth, and his age is one of the sources of his worldly and wise way of speaking. Even though he's wise, he can also be a total idiot. He's a drunkard, a philanderer, and while he seems content to run the hotel, I think he's searching for something more. A relationship, perhaps? He does have a grandson named James, but we never meet his wife or his children. Catherine is one of the breakout stars of Gregory, enjoying her status as a powerful female icon and occasionally showing up in furry porn.
So, do you see this great, big, lovely needle?
She's a vile creature, obsessed with sticking big, dull needles into bulging veins and sucking patients dry, and I love her for it. The very sensation of drawing blood excites her apparently to orgasm, and she can't get enough of it. Otherwise, she's actually one of the most normal characters in the series. She has a whole inner world in which she is caught between her aspirations of career and love, appreciates the finer things in life like this lizard Vuitton bag, and is even canonically bisexual. While she is always going on about attractive men like Hell's Chef, let's see what she does when presented with the female protagonist of Season 2.
I thought maybe I had penetrated her carotid artery.
Catherine, there's no need to rush things. Shall we make our way to her room?
Oh, I can't wait to take her blood.
Now remember, you're just giving her a normal medical examination.
Ooh, yummy. In Gregory Horror Show Kara Freaks, a papercraft and supplemental information book published in 2001, she's stated to be a nurse who crept into patients' rooms at night to take blood without permission, which lends credence to the idea that every denizen of Gregory House was once someone from the outside world. In addition, there's a page on acupoints where we glean a lot of, extra information about Catherine and her interests. My goodness. I've been told Judgment Boy, this legless floating object with the component parts of a Tumblr sexy man, is in fact very popular on Tumblr, or was. He has a painfully annoying voice and a tendency to shout everything he says. Judgment! However, his most compelling feature is the choices he poses to those he encounters.
You're a businessman. Today you will sign a major contract that will change your life. But your girlfriend who you love has just been hit by a car. If you go to the hospital, you'll lose that contract. Now, which will you choose?
Always weighing the heart against selfishness. He is there to judge the protagonists and the denizens of Gregory House and is the mechanism through which characters can learn about themselves and reflect on their decisions. Sleepy Sheep isn't around much, but he's a fascinating character. A cute little sheep boy, he often wanders into the guest rooms or into the scene complaining about how sleepy he is. When he invariably falls unconscious, he has a habit of talking about the dreams he's having in his sleep. But these aren't his dreams. In fact, Sleepy Sheep's dreams are a reflection of the innermost thoughts of the person near him, resulting in an interesting look into the hearts and minds of some of the characters. The candle-headed Hell's Chef has a one-note personality. He's concerned mostly about the quality of his food, it's in the stock, and is adamant that no one smoke around him because it ruins the flavor of the food. I think this speaks to a particular cultural interaction because while places like California banned smoking in workplaces in 1995, Japan, one of the world's largest consumers of tobacco, didn't ban it until 2020. I think this character is Naomi Iwata's heartfelt send-up of chefs who worked hard to make good food in restaurants that were filled with smoke. I'd like to note here that the nameless female protagonist of Season 2 is a smoker. There's a stigma against women smoking in Japan, and Japanese tobacco companies voluntarily refrain from advertising towards women. After the government-run tobacco industry went private in 1985 and tariffs were dropped on foreign tobacco companies in 1987, American companies like Philip Morris started running ads targeted toward women for the first time. Just food for thought, and something in recent cultural memory for the people creating a show in Japan in 1999. Don't smoke, kids. This cute little guy is James, Gregory's grandson, and whenever he appears, he's up to no good. Normally, I hate this kind of character, but James is so good at what he does. Whether it's stealing money or pilfering special magazines, Gregory always ends up to be the one who takes the blame for his bad behavior. He can feign sincerity while apologizing too, which is completely cold-blooded. This feisty woman is Gregory's mother, called Gregory Mama, which makes her James's great-grandmother. She is estimated to be about 800 years old, an impressive number, and she supplements herself by devouring souls. Apparently this works very well, because for an 800-year-old, she has some amazing tits. She is quite strict on Gregory, who, like any weird dude, is totally beholden to the will of his mother, often fretting about upsetting her. During the events of Season 2, she almost accidentally eats his soul, but the rotten stench throws her off.
You stink, Grandpa.
Will no one shed a tear for a stinky grandpa? This is another example of where Western influences come in. Who hasn't heard of Psycho and the Bates Motel? Norman and his mother? There's definitely some equally weird stuff going on here with Gregory. I'd like to also note the pink lipstick marks on Gregory Mama's face. The implication is that they were placed there by a woman, but who? Gregory Mama lesbian confirmed. Last and definitely not least, Fat Chicken is a single episode character from Season 3. He's an enormous, overfed rooster on his way to a new dream job where they'll offer him free food, a place to stay, and easy work. Shout out to the Japanese tradition of eating KFC on Christmas. After Gregory spends some time fantasizing about how delicious this overstuffed bird will be, the train arrives at its next stop, Chicken Farm. I love this take on the classic person who doesn't know they're going to be food horror setup, and Gregory is totally into it.
God. Hey, I'll take some fried chicken. Give me a fat, juicy one.
This is just one example of the many single episode characters who show up basically to just tell their story and then they're gone. Now that I've discussed some of the characters, I'll share some details about each season, so let's move on. The first season of Gregory places us inside the body and mind of a salaryman arriving at the hotel. Confronted by countless bizarre guests and staff, he eventually tries to escape. This sets in motion a spiritual confrontation with himself, his life as a salaryman, and his place in the purgatory of Gregory House. One of my favorite parts of the first 2 seasons are the monologues, which have a flavor of night gallery about them. Here are a few.
When I was a child, I used to create fantasy worlds in my mind, but I always knew the difference between reality and make-believe. Now, I'm not so sure. Is there any point in seeing the future in a crystal ball? When I'm powerless to do anything but accept it? I was given a bowl of soup. Soup I never should have eaten. This was no ordinary meal. How can I still be alive after I've lost so much blood? If she comes with that needle again, I'm not sure I'll survive.
The protagonist of Season 1 is revealed to have a loving family. Episode 10's TV fish gives him a glimpse of his child who begs him to try and remember who he is. In episode 16, a horrifying roller coaster ride reveals the truth about Gregory House. It is indeed a purgatory for lost souls, one of which Gregory, snorts. Okay. He confirms in the next episode that he only exists because of the protagonist's desire to escape his monotonous life. Later in episode 20, Angel Dog gives our hero a way out, but it comes with a catch. It could lead to heaven or hell. It's nothing but another route back to Gregory House, and he mentions feeling relieved to give up. After some encouragement, he decides to walk his own path, which leads him back to a life of dreary responsibilities, so banal he actually decides to return and remain in Gregory's realm.
Welcome back, my friend. Your room is ready for you, just like I promised.
Definitely not a happy ending. I'm not sure I can sympathize with a guy who leaves his wife and kid because he doesn't like supporting them. Boo-hoo, right? He made his choice. Small shout out to the portrait of what appears to be an Abyssinian cat on the wall of the guest room the protagonists inhabit. I grew up around these cats. In the second season, we enter Gregory House as a woman taking a taxi from her best friend's wedding, having endured many failed careers and meaningful relationships gone sour.
What am I doing wandering through this forest? The last thing I remember is being in a taxi on my way home from my friend's wedding. How did I end up in a place like this?
Season 2 is much more compelling for me as it comes from a woman's perspective. Early on, Gregory compares her to a rose by discussing her beauty and the way men get hurt pursuing her.
That rose doesn't want to be touched. Well, some roses are like that. They just won't let anyone get close to them.
He burns her rose and suggests she works on
being a bit less prickly,
which reeks of the kinds of things old men recommend to young women. One of my favorite parts is the difference in how the protagonist is treated. Gregory is shown to actually pity her in episode 6, unlike his treatment of the guy in season 1. She is here because of the misery inflicted on her by others, not because she's gripped by some selfish ennui. After losing her own soul, she finds her way back to her body and, with the help of Neko Zombie, burns down Gregory House. End of story, eh? No. Actually, the house starts rebuilding itself and she is welcomed into Gregory's family, although it isn't clear what role she's meant to play. The problems the protagonists of the first 2 seasons bring into Gregory House are the quintessential Japanese problems for men and women, respectively. For men, coping with life as a salaryman during Japan's lost decade was difficult and often deadly. During the recession, suicide soared as wages fell, including a startling jump in 1998, a year before Gregory Horror Show debuted. By 2000, 40% of the Japanese workforce were women, and 57% of those women were married. Although Japan passed the Equal Employment Opportunity Law in 1985, women in the workplace are still discriminated against. Japan's career women could not advance unless they worked full-time with the same burden as male employees. Sound fair? Well, that ignores the fact that women also have to carry and raise children, all while staring down a wage gap of 33%. Yes, for every dollar a salaryman made, a career woman made 66 cents. Adding that up, it's clear why Japan has an aging population problem. Who wants to give birth when you can't afford to? These heartbreaking realities of recession, suicide, careers, and motherhood could have contributed to Gregory's tone, which mixes horror, satirical comedy, and heartfelt soul-searching. With that, let's move on to Season 3. In a departure, Season 3 is set on a living train and features a slew of new characters. It's also presented in the third person with no protagonist other than Gregory himself. A lot goes on here, with most characters either headed somewhere or simply riffing on Japan's train culture. From rude riders to pickpockets, we almost feel like we're there with them on this train to nowhere. In episode 10, Bonsai Kabuki, the character who can show people's innermost desires has an interaction with Gregory that I think is important to mention, let's say.
Fantasies! I will show you what you desire. Wow, I'm impressed you're still active at your age.
That is none of your business. Go away. What a damn
Anyone
nuisance.
want to buy a ticket?
Yeah, just a reminder that this is an adult show for adults. After that, Bonsai Kabuki runs into Catherine, and that goes about as well as you can expect.
I just can't take it anymore.
What are you doing?
I just can't stop myself. Please forgive me. Oh, what a rush. I can never get
You know, I really envy people who are able to turn their fantasies into reality so quickly.
Me too, Gregory, me too. Again, we knew that Gregory's mother was a sexualized character given her cleavage and the kisses on her face, but her appearance in season 3 takes the cake. She operates a phone sex line, which Gregory calls accidentally.
I'm alone right now. What do you say we have some fun?
Is that why you left home, Gregory? So you could get involved in this sort of stuff?
Mama, it's not what you think, Mama.
And ads of her in her underwear are slapped all over the train.
That old bitch is terrifying.
And the camera. You know what? If a hot grandma wants to operate a phone sex line, more power to her. In episode 18, Gregory is revealed to be, hip.
Your stuff is outdated. Get with the program. All right.
And in the following episode 19, we are treated to Rappin' Gregory, but the less said about that, the better.
Yo, you gotta wake up. You're a whack MC who ain't worth your makeup. Yo, you better think fast before those crows decide to eat you for breakfast. Yeah, you're gonna get chomped on, so take that back to Compton. Yo, yeah.
The events of season 3 end with reality itself being broken as, after the train, revealed to be run-on souls, leaps off the track. The entire season is a metaphor for Gregory's desire to lose himself in travel and leisure. He wanted to escape his responsibilities as proprietor of the peculiar purgatory of Gregory House. Similar to Saint Elsewhere in its infamous snow globe scene, Season 3 ends by revealing the train was just one of James's toys all along. Let's move on to Season 4. Now, of all the characters in Gregory Horror Show, which one do you think is popular and beloved by the creator enough to have a season revolve entirely around them? That's right. It's needle-wielding Catherine, queen of the carotid artery, in Gregory Horror Show, The Bloody Cart. Gregory House has been converted into a hospital, and the show itself has become something of a soap opera / hospital show parody. Wow, my St. Elsewhere comparison was really apt. It opens with Catherine having killed the man she loved, searching for satisfaction between love and career, and monologuing about what it means to be a woman.
Which am I, a nurse or a woman? And which is more important, love or my career? Oh, look, a shooting star. Tell me, shooting star, which should I choose?
We get to see this cute little gecko in each opening shot, and you can catch it during each ending shot too if you know where to look. It's a shorter season, with Catherine handling various patients and butting heads with the doctor. She has a few close brushes with love. In episode 5, she thinks her perennial crush, Hal's chef, is enjoying her homemade lunches. But instead, it's Gregory. He even brings her flowers in episode 7. In the end, she takes the doctor's place and runs the hospital with Cactus Girl as her new nurse. She also changes the sexy nurse sign to reflect herself, which is a definite upgrade and is an excellent note on which to end the series. I'd also like to mention that in episode 6, Musha Dokuro refers to Catherine as a, quote, princess.
How dare you speak of our princess that way?
And speaking as an occasionally either dark or pure princess myself, I can firmly say I appreciate the definition being expanded to include murderous, nymphomaniac nurse lizards.
Stop it, Catherine. I beg you. What good will it do taking blood from me?
Please forgive me. Oh, I just can't ever get enough of this sensation.
Please stop.
Satisfaction.
There have been some other Gregory media, including a short where Gregory walks through a museum, a manga, and a video game. I'd like to talk a bit about the video game. Known in Japan as Gregory Horror Show Soul Collector, like Siren 2, this PS2 game was never released in the US, but did release in the UK. So we have an English translation to enjoy thanks to our friends across the pond. Cheers! The player has been transported to Gregory House, and death has given us a body. The goal is to acquire 12 souls from various characters so that we can use them to escape. This is definitely a survival horror game with great atmosphere and a sense of dread despite the bright, stylized visuals. You can creep around Gregory House and investigate various rooms, floors, and basements, all while collecting items and searching for the secret ways to acquire souls. You can also spy on house residents and build out memo files on them, which is a great way to experience the world and find out more about your favorite character. I was able to encounter a few lovely tidbits, like Catherine here gorging herself on donuts while crying at a soap opera. We've all been there, girl, I understand. The story follows the outcome of Season 2, but if you want to immerse yourself in the world of the series, the game is a great follow-up to the show. Since you can name your character, it feels more like you're taking part in the world. You can switch from a third and first-person camera and creep around in the dark listening to odd noises and jumping at shadows. Cute horror like this is so rare, especially given that it doesn't shy away from adult themes, blood, alcohol, and so on. All in all, I'd say it's a pretty fun experience. In addition, because you can name an avatar after yourself, you can ship yourself with the characters. Or maybe they'll ship themselves with you.
Oh, that face makes me want to do terrible things to you.
Be careful out there. The future looks bright for the Gregory Horror Show series. Just this year, creator Naomi Iwata ran a successful crowdfunding campaign that made something like 30 million yen for an action RPG set in the world of Gregory. Hopefully, we'll have more to look forward to soon, but for now, enjoy these line stickers, okay? Thank you for joining me this frightful evening, and please remember, our souls are always yearning for something, even if it isn't good for us. Isn't it time you took a look in the mirror? If you look down your own throat, maybe you can see what it is your soul is crying out for. Happy Halloween! Thanks once more to all my wonderful Laserdisc Patreon supporters.